3, 2, 1. All right, folks, welcome to the postgame chop-up with Nate and Steve, presented by the Voice of College Football. Florida State offense struggles mightily today. Defense gives up some big plays. FSU loses 28-14 to NC State, dropping to 3-6 on the season. Steve, how you doing tonight?
I don't know. Kind of tired, but
Yeah, it's hard getting old, man.
It is hard getting old. It is. Once I got all the news about all the flu and stuff like that, prior to all that, like even earlier in the week, I figured Florida State would be able to win like a 4-point game or something like that. Once I got the news of all the flu, I was thinking, all right, depending on how bad it is, NC State, win by 4, 28-24, I think was what I was thinking. And then, hour before game time, and all of a sudden all this stuff starts coming out about, 25 people, and and obviously it's a lot worse than we even thought. And I was like, if we can keep this game close, I even tweeted that if we can keep this game close, it'll be a miracle. We just don't have the depth to be able to handle that kind of stuff, to be able to handle that many people out. And it's not even so much people out, just people not 100%. And you can tell the energy level, which I've actually played games when I've had the flu, really sick. And it's exactly what you saw today from quite a few people, where the energy level is just not the same. They're just a step slow. And it makes a difference, and what's the quote, football is a game of inches. And a game of inches, if you're a step slow, you get all of a sudden
you're going to lose every time.
You're going to lose. And every time, something that would normally be, a 5-yard gain can all of a sudden be a 50-yard touchdown. And, but even with all of that, I still think if Jordan Travis plays and our offense is, we're able to run our offense, it's a different game. I don't think they're able to control the clock and keep our defense out there so long. And I think we have a very good chance of winning if Jordan Travis plays. Everything else stays the same if Jordan Travis plays, which, I don't know. To me, that says a lot about how far this team has come, but still says a lot about how far we have to go, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. I thought that, this game was winnable coming in. One of my concerns that I talked about on the Hear the Spirit podcast was, I felt that Florida State was going to be vulnerable against Leary in the passing attack. I thought that Florida State would do a pretty good job of shutting down the run game. I thought they would, do enough there. But I think Leary's a good quarterback. He's had a really solid season. And I thought that was going to give FSU troubles. And if you look at the game, it did. But some of that was also self-inflicted with missed tackles and, poor angles and just poor play. It's another game of another example where Florida State just doesn't execute, or, they don't do maybe what they're supposed to, or, they don't drop into coverage like Jones did on the first touchdown. There's miscommunication. That's just kind of stuff that continues to shoot FSU in the foot, and why they're competing but they're losing close. They lost by 2 touchdowns, but that game felt closer than when it was. And that's why FSU continues to lose, and that's what it comes down to. And I know a lot of people are questioning the coaches, but if you look, it comes down to wins. You gotta win. You can only talk about improvements for so long. But as you said, Steve, this isn't a deep team. This is a team that is, has a good first 22, first 30, first 32 maybe. Otherwise than that, once they start getting depleted, this team takes a step back, and we saw that today. So let's. Where do you want to start? Do you want to go right into the offense, or what do you want to talk about first?
Offense sounds good. Go right into the offense.
All right. So let's talk about. I want to go right to, you and I were kind of talking about it when I was driving home. I want to go right to the fourth quarter and those last 2 drives. Should Norvell punted, or should he have gone for it? Why?
Well, there's two ways to really look at it. This earpiece is buzzing in my ear every time I talk. So there's two ways to look at it. One, obviously, okay, your defense is playing well, so punt it and let your defense play. And okay, now then whenever they punt it, to me, two things wrong with that. First is their punter is freaking amazing. So let's say we do that and we get a 3-and-out and they punt it. Good chance we're going to be back up inside the 20 again. And with Milton at quarterback, our offense is just not going to, realistically, it's not going to move down the field that many times. So to me, I'm looking at that like, okay, yeah, defense is playing well. Let's say we get a stop, and now all of a sudden we got to do an 80-yard drive to get a touchdown. Okay, I don't think that's very likely. I don't think that's very likely that's going to happen. To me, I look at it like, okay, our offense is not going to be able to drive the ball too many times. So when we get the ball we have the ball in midfield and it's a 4th and 4, it's a very convertible 4th down. If we convert that and then we get another first down, we're in field goal range. We're in a position to score points. We don't have very many. To me, I'm looking at it. We don't have very many chances like that's going to come up. So to me, I like the call because I don't think we're going to have very many chances throughout the game, which if you look at it, we didn't have anything. That was our best chance to score in the fourth quarter was that. And to me, that's how I look at it is that's our best chance to score. And we're in the best position right there that we're probably going to be in. So we need to try to capitalize on it. We failed. Defense gave up a touchdown anyways, which if we had punted it, guess what? And they run that same screen, they're still in field goal position or getting a touchdown there anyway. So I don't think it made one bit of a difference very much. But to me, you got to take the chance. You're in getting close to scoring position and you can't move the ball. You got to capitalize on those chances. So to me, it's a good call.
So George Aron here says NC State had 5 starters out on defense. This is a piss poor effort from Norvell and company. Bad decision making. Coaches look like he's still at Memphis. Mike says, I see everyone shitting on Norvell, but he is the head coach, and that's not about to change. I might not like every decision, but I have to trust him and the staff. Go Noles. Hashtag Mike's got us. My feeling on that is I see both arguments on punting versus going for it. What stands out to me is that I didn't like the calls. I didn't like the play calls. And ultimately that's what I keep, going back to, initially in this instant reaction is the play calls themselves. I didn't like them. I didn't like how, Florida State didn't really nut up any in this, third and 1, passing the ball, 4th and 4. Yeah, you can't run the ball, but I thought there were a lot of opportunities FSU could have, pulled up the bootstraps and play some big boy ball that they didn't. I understand it. With 6.5 minutes left or whatever the time was, I forget the exact time to go for it because, like you said, the punter, was the MVP of the game for NC State. Yeah. You just don't know, but you also don't know on the flip side, if they call that screen on 3rd down, or 2nd down, whichever down it was. But you got to tip their cap to them. Florida State was getting pressure on them, very, very easily almost, and they took advantage of Florida State's aggressiveness. They knew that they were going to bring the pressure, and there was a missed tackle. Within 6 yards of it. The camera angle sucked, so I couldn't really tell. But they could have stopped it, but Florida State missed the tackle, didn't execute, and they took it for the touchdown. So I can see both arguments. At the end of the day, Florida State 3-5, now 3-6. You gotta take the chances to win it and show your team that. That you trust that the defense can get the job done. They have been playing well in the second half. So, what do you make of the tale of the two halves? Florida State only scored 14, but the offense did look significantly better. It looks like that they spread out NC State more in the second half.
Yeah, they definitely did some different things. Like you said, we're spreading them out a lot more, and it opened up a little bit for the running game as well by doing so. We tried to make things easier on McKenzie and get him a little bit more time and stuff like that. But the coaches did a great job in the second half of game planning and making adjustments to be able to move the ball at all. But some of that goes back to just pure momentum. It was a risky call to go for that onside kick to start the second half, and you get that, and that gives us a little bit of energy and gets us a little pumped up. And
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. But
I like it.
But to me, that goes the same thing with the fourth down call. Like it's being aggressive, but when you're in our position where we're at, we're 3-5. We don't have the depth, and we don't really have the personnel to just go mano a mano with these guys. You got to do things like that to try to create some momentum, to try to create some energy.
Agreed.
And it's not always going to work. It's not always going to be 100%, but I think the coaches did a great job. Personally, with everything that we knew about an hour going into the game, like for us to be in that position tells me like our coaches outcoach their coaches. They just have a better quarterback than us. A lot better quarterback than we do. Milton's just not Milton that he was in 2017. He's not the same player, and he's not anywhere even close. So, to me, the biggest loser in this game is Chuba Purdy, but that's a different topic.
Yeah. So Benjamin Limback says McKenzie runs a set of incompletes. He has a first down again. I think he was doing well second half. Just felt like he went away from running. Officiating effing sucked. The officials again didn't do any favors for Florida State. He also says Keir Thomas did well. Also, they probably should do verticals at some point and run when man coverage backs turned. Sticking the offense before we get to Keir Thomas, who I thought played, has played tremendously the past month.
Yeah,
he's definitely upped his game and is making himself some money. But I want to stick with the offense a little bit. But I think people keep forgetting is that Florida State is this offense isn't what you traditionally see from Norvell before he's come to Florida State. Everyone always talks about, maybe he should go back to Memphis, all this kind of stuff. I highly disagree because he's had to tailor his offense to
our crap personnel. Say it.
Yes.
Say
so hold on. I'm trying to tweet this while I talk about it. He's had to tweak the offense to fit the personnel. And Florida State doesn't necessarily have what they need in order to make Mike Norvell's offense run like it can. You look at Brady White, you look at the quarterbacks he's had at Memphis. He doesn't need an elite guy at quarterback. He needs a guy who can facilitate the offense, get rid of the ball, make the read, and is an accurate passer. It's what he needs. And Florida State doesn't have that right now. You look at Jordan Travis, who he is what he is. But there's a reason why they only throw the ball 13 times when he plays quarterback. Today, they threw the ball a lot more. Milton, I appreciate everything that he's done for FSU. Can you pull the stats up? I'm on my phone, so I can't pull the stats up. For everything Milton's done, the kid's got so much. His guts, man, his balls are so large that he keeps going out there and fighting. You can't not appreciate him, but he's not the same player that he was before. That knee injury, that leg injury killed his velocity. He was never a gunslinger before, but he was always very accurate and could step into the throws, and he doesn't do that. So Florida State, they don't have the facilitator FSU needs. Let me know when you have the stats up.
I got him.
How many times did they throw today? Like 42 times?
44.
44 times. FSU hasn't done that anywhere close at all this season.
Maybe Wake Forest, but that's just because we were down so big. But
yeah, because they were down so much. But Florida State knew they had to throw the ball to win this game because FSU, they had a back-to-back weeks against a really good run defense. When you look at the advanced metrics, NC State was number 7 in the country against the run, so they had to throw the ball. If Jordan Travis is in there, do they throw 44 times? No. But it also opens up the offense because they can scheme with him. They kind of have it down with him. So I'm not going to sit here and take a dump on Norvell in offense because of just the lack of playmakers and the lack of a quarterback. And the offense is what it is. This is where we're at based off the last 5 years of recruiting and lack of development. It's continuing to impact FSU in 2021.
Yep. We haven't thrown that many times since Georgia Tech last year.
Heard. Anthony, can someone explain to me why on second one, why we pass the ball, and on third and one, we pass the ball? Second and one, yeah, I agree. You throw the ball. That is a down that's very much in favor of FSU on second and short. It opens up the playbook significantly. Why they don't run the ball on third and one, I don't know. That's one thing I do question. Why I said, why does FSU not, pull up the boot shots and play some big boy ball and get that first down?
Well, to me, there's a bit of a fault in the question because we ran the ball on third and one other times during the game. So it's not as if, we just never did. We did. I mean, one of the times.
I think he's talking about it, when it came down.
Yeah, I know.
Game. Yeah.
But we got stuffed other times when we tried to run it on third and short or second and short. Fourth and short, we got the Wildcat touchdown on the goal line. But with how our line was blocking and how NC State was just crushing us, and anytime there was a running situation, we got nothing. So essentially running it on third and one, you're going to be running into a brick wall. And I don't know. To me, I don't think it's always the right call in that situation to run. Is it sometimes? Yes. But sometimes you're going to do better passing the ball. And I think this is one of those games to where we're just getting crushed inside and trying to run it on third and one when there's a low probability of you actually winning that matchup in this game. Try for the pass. It's worked. We've done it plenty of other times in other games, on short yardage where we pass it. We did on the goal line against Clemson, touchdown, last week. So I don't have an issue with it, but either way, you just got to convert. Bottom line, we just didn't convert, so. And everybody has third and one passing plays. Everyone does. So,
yeah. So Anthony says, Nate, to win a national championship, you need elite quarterback play. I don't necessarily agree with that. You need elite. If you talk recently,
Georgia's going to win it this year without.
Georgia's going to win this year without an elite quarterback. Their defense is, one of the best that we've seen probably.
Alabama's won it several times.
Alabama's won with McElroy and Jacob Coker. LSU won with what's his face? Not Joe Burrow, but the kid with Jimbo.
Matt Flynn?
Yeah, Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn.
So I don't necessarily agree that you need an elite quarterback. I think you need a combination of good quarterback play in a scheme and playmakers. I think an elite quarterback makes you a definitive favorite like a Jameis or Joe Burrow. Something I think that makes you a clear-cut elite team versus, Florida State with a Thad Busby. I think there is a not much of a difference. I think that, Thad Busby could have won a national championship. It just came down to, I don't even want to talk about that game, but, it brings up bad memories. But, Florida State right now, they need just a steady quarterback. Right now we shouldn't even be talking about national championships. We should be talking about getting to a bowl game and having a winning record.
Can we get to 500 first?
Yeah. But it's a debatable point. He brings up a debatable point whether you need, elite quarterback play, or if you need just, someone that can run your system.
Here's one thing we can say is definitely the truth. We need better quarterback play than we have right now.
Yep.
I think we can all agree on that one.
Mm-hmm. So Nooney says that exactly, George Ron, I'm tired of all the excuses being made from Mike, as if other programs aren't dealing with things too. The performance of the staff just isn't good. And in the chat, they're calling for a guy like Ed Ogeron to come to Florida State, which would be an absolute disaster. Ed Ogeron didn't win that national title.
No.
Joe Brady won that national title.
Yep.
There's a reason why that team went like this and then right back down.
Yep. And Dave Aranda, you can give him some credit too.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. You cannot. Dave Aranda is one of the best defensive coordinators in the past 15 years, probably. You look at Wisconsin, you look at LSU, you look at Baylor's defense. Yep. Baylor hasn't had much of a defense, if at all, ever, and they're playing really good ball on that side. So, I take him as a recruiter. I take him as a recruiter. Don't get me wrong, but
he caught lightning in a bottle for 1 year. Other than that, his head coaching career has been average at best. Bottom line.
Mm-hmm. We need a real general quarterback, someone who can manage the game and also be able to read a defense. If you look at Norvell's, not to beat a dead horse, but that's what Norvell's offense is predicated on, is a quarterback that can make quick decisions, get rid of the ball. We haven't seen it yet. We've seen a little bit, we haven't. This is an offense that does favor good quarterback play, and it is highly successful when there is someone that can get their head out of their ass. But let's switch over to defense. So, first I want to shout out Keir Thomas, who played a hell of a game. The past few weeks he's definitely stepped his game up, and I think that he created a ton of havoc today.
Yeah, I don't think you can say enough about Keir Thomas. And I think you said it earlier in the broadcast that the last few weeks he's really been coming on and been playing a lot better, and that's a huge help because now people are going to be able to stop chipping and double teaming Johnson so much. They're going to have to focus on Thomas too. That's going to open up some more things for Johnson. And same thing with the other defensive line starting to come on. Lovett's still playing at a high level. Jackson and Ray starting to come on, and that's going to open some things up. And Deloach has been playing very well as well, and Gaynor's been playing better the last couple of weeks. We just have mental lapses just in the secondary that's just come on, guys, and you could see
Hold on, Steve. Hey, New King God, stay tuned for the Miami prediction. We'll talk a little bit about it at the end of our NC State review. I got something for you.
So I was talking about Jamie Robinson. You could tell some of those guys just were not themselves.
In it. They weren't
in it. They weren't in it. Jamie Robinson wasn't quite himself. I don't think Knowles was quite himself. Dent, same thing. Brownlee, I think was fine. Jones gave up a big play or two. I guess honestly that is himself, but but some of that secondary, they just seemed a little bit off, a little bit slow, just a little bit off from how they've been playing the last month, basically. And I think when you're playing a good quarterback like Leary, just a little bit all it takes, just a little bit off, and boom, big play. So but outside of those big plays, they didn't do a whole lot against us, and a lot of it had to do with the pressure we were doing on them and stuff like that. But we had good coverage and stuff like that. It's just they really took advantage of every single mental lapse we had on defense. They took advantage of every single one.
Well, what were NC State stats offensively for the game?
So let me pull them back up. So Leary had 300 or 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, probably 200 of that is on the big plays.
Yep.
And then rushing, they had 95 yards, 93, 97 yards.
They had they had about 3 yards of rush.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So they didn't, they just didn't they weren't able to run the ball very well. They had like 1 or 2 decent runs, but other than that, they weren't able to run the ball, and on a play-by-play basis. And on third down, they were well under 50%. So we even did a good job in that. It's just those 4 or 5 mental lapses we had, they capitalized on, and that hurt us.
Hey, New King, what Florida State does well, run the ball. Miami can't stop a junior varsity team. So don't catch your chickens before they hatch, buddy. Remember, you have Manny Diaz as head coach.
Why are we talking to somebody who hasn't won anything since 2000? Why are they?
Because they got the turnover chain, man. The use back. The use back. Now, but so at FSU, I think it can't. Like you said, it comes down to the busted plays. I think Dent, he struggled a little bit today. They took advantage of him. Jones had an off game, had been playing pretty well recently. For Florida State,
you got Manny Diaz as a head coach.
Yep.
Go take a seat.
Florida State is, coming into this game, I thought that they would be able to get a little bit more pressure than they did. How many sacks they finished with? Like 3?
4, I think. I think we ended up with 4. I thought maybe
3.
It was 3. It was 3.
Yeah, I thought they'd get up to around 5+, and I think they needed to do that in order to win this game. They had to get, Leary off his spot. He's not a scrambler. He is more of a pocket guy in my opinion. But the big plays is what it comes down to. That's the difference between NC State's offense and FSU's offense. Is they had the guys who can make the play when it needs to be made. So, again, I think this is a game back-to-back weeks that Florida State had a chance to win offensively. It's not on the defense.
Yeah. It's hard to really place that on the defense. I think a lot of people expected NC State to score over 30, and they didn't get that. And, it's I don't know. It's just a frustrating loss, just because the opportunities were, even despite all the issues, the opportunities were still there. And if we just have a few less mental lapses and, make 1 or 2 more plays on offense, it's a completely different game. But like I said to start, if we had Jordan Travis, I think we win this game. I really do.
Yep. So, we'll debate a little bit more nuking at the end, but now he's defending Manny Diaz. When 2 weeks ago he probably wanted him fired, was right at leading the charge, and let's fire Manny. Let's go get some big name coach that in the wet dreams they could get. So now he's pumping his chest for Manny Diaz at the U's back, man. That tells me that you're just a poser. But anyways, going to FSU, sticking with the defense, and looking at overall, I had heard leading up to the game that there was might be 17 people out, so it looks like that that wasn't a close number. My opinion is, and I think you saw it defensively, is I think guys played not 100%. I think they gave it a shot, knowing that Florida State depth issues, et cetera. They gave it the best effort they could, and it did negatively impact the defense. It's just what it comes down to.
Yeah. Whenever you got people who are just fatigued and not 100% due to being sick, and then you ask them to play nonstop with little depth and
hey Steve, here you go.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm just ignoring it. And you ask them to play so much and have to get complete stop, constantly get stops against what's going to be, whether he's a starter in the NFL or not, what's going to end up being an NFL quarterback with some big time receivers and like big receivers, like literally physically big. Um, you know, so it's tough. It's a tough ask. And if we had more depth, if we had a little bit more depth, and stuff like that, then it's not as big of an issue. But I think that's one thing that the entire FSU fan base has agreed on over the last year is we have no depth. So as soon as you have 20, 25 people out with the flu, like they're already getting tired at the end of games. Now you're asking them to play with the flu and not be subbed in and out. Like that's a tough ask. So like I think I said at the very beginning of the game from the Unconquered Twitter that we got to get something on offense early. If we don't, and we sit there and have to ask our defense to play like this the entire game, it's not going to work. And obviously, it didn't work.
So yeah, let's put a bow on NC State because I do want to talk a little bit about Miami, and I do want to talk about Chuba a little bit, and we'll wrap it up after that. But final thoughts. Florida State is deficient at the most important position in the game as quarterback. And until that gets changed, it is what it is. It's going to be a interesting finish to the season. Florida State now has to win out to get to a bowl game. It's going to be a tough ask. With the way that Van Dyke's playing, especially, we talk about Leary in the passing game. That's something that they've done extremely well on offense lately with Van Dyke. He's got a really good deep ball, and I think that's going to really challenge the secondary that FSU for Florida State. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain and be able to keep the big plays from happening. You look at Boston College; they got the quarterback back from the injury, but they didn't look phenomenal. They just look okay. And then as we were talking in the production meeting, talking before we came on, Florida's pretty close to being the shambles too. So looking at this game, what's your two big takeaways from this game? So, and we'll wrap up NC State and talk about a couple other things.
Our defensive line is one or two depth pieces away from being an elite defense line, like a top 10 defensive line in the nation. That's really my biggest takeaway. And so if we can continue and they can continue to improve, which they've been getting better, especially, like individually throughout the year, we're going to cause some issues for Miami and Florida. But the second takeaway is that only helps if we limit the mental lapses in the secondary.
Right.
So if we can stop the mental lapses in the secondary and which, to be truthful, over the last few games, they've been a lot less until this game. It reared its head again. So hopefully, I got a friend who always says that progress isn't linear. Sometimes you have dips, hopefully this game with our secondary was a dip and it ticks back up the remaining 3 weeks, a little dip and it ticks back up. And maybe it's the flu, maybe it's just an off game, whatever it is. So if our defensive line can continue to play like that and we can continue to improve in the secondary with the mental lapses, winning 3 in a row isn't impossible, if Travis comes back as well. I don't necessarily know if I would predict it.
I'm not.
But it's certainly a possibility, right?
Yep.
I'm not. I think there's a good possibility we win the next 2 and then drop a game to Florida. But
so real quick, let me do my due diligence. This is the post-game chop-up with Nate and Steve, hosted by the Voice of College Football. Make sure that you listen in live every Wednesday to the call-in show. I'm sure our Miami buddy here will have a lot to say, leading up to that game. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at NateGreer26, at SPNoel51. If you are listening on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Florida State loses 28-14 to NC State, dropping to 3-6 in the season. So let's talk a little bit about Chuba, and then we'll move to Miami for a couple minutes, and we'll wrap it up. So the timing of it sucks, especially with what's transpired this week. Florida State loses their starting quarterback to the flu, and midweek or early week. So Chuba wasn't there Monday or Tuesday, and there were some thoughts that maybe he was, battling the flu too. And then here you go, the announcement made that he enters the portal. There's a lot of people that are upset about it, and really challenging the decision to quit mid-season. I think that he would have been very helpful today. What are your thoughts on Chuba? Packing it in and going home and looking for another school.
I agree that he could have been helpful today, but in the end, somebody with that kind of mentality to where they're not willing to stand and fight to win the position, and especially I don't see how you look at the Florida State quarterback room and be like, oh, I don't have a chance, so I'm going to leave. Like, you got to look at it if you're him, and if you have any ounce of confidence, be like, I can win this job next year. I can be this starting quarterback at Florida State next year. Like, I don't see how you don't have a different opinion if you're him. So to me, it's like, oh, well, I'm not starting this year. And, I also wonder, because it was about the time that he entered the portal was about the time that stuff started coming out about Travis possibly not being able to play this week. So I'm like, did maybe Norvell say, all right, Milton's going to be the starter, and Chuba, you're going to be the backup, and then that kind of just set him off. I'm going into the portal. Which, if that's the case, like, are we ever going to win with that guy, anyways? Truthfully, if that's your attitude, and you're not going to sit there and fight as a quarterback to get the position when it's clearly up for grabs, because the other quarterbacks stink, like, what are we losing with that mentality? Like, that's what have we always said, Nate? We have what kind of blood?
Loser
blood. How is that not loser blood to me? So to me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Bye. That's my take. Bye. Go have someone else. And I hope he does well somewhere else. I hope he does well somewhere else. But if you don't look at this roster and be like, I can be the man next year, or okay, well, Travis is out this game, Milton's going to start, but if I get my chance, I'm going to go out there and show him up. If that's not your attitude, I don't know. You're not very good to me anyway. So
I think that it comes down to playing time ultimately, which is the simple, easy thought. But my opinion is that something happened for the coaching staff to not trust that he's the guy. Something happened. We're not privy to the everyday behind the scenes stuff. But I do think that Coach Norvell has been pretty transparent in a lot of things. And I think that it's that something has happened where the coaching staff doesn't trust that he was the guy, which sucks because he was their hand-picked guy that they went after as soon as they got hired. It just didn't work out, but who knows, he injures the shoulder in camp, battles back, plays against NC State last year, has 250 yards of total offense and 2 touchdowns. Doesn't look awful. He looks like a freshman. If he doesn't re-aggravate his shoulder injury, does he start the next week? And do we look back from that? Things always have a funny way of working out. And Personally, I wish Chubb a lot of luck. Because it's a something that we've had on the Unconquered Talk podcast, and but
He's a good
the
dude.
timing is it's very weird. But let's go to Miami. So we got Tyler Van Dimes. NC State is awful. Miami fans are pretty confident about, after 2 weeks ago, they're ready to pack up shop and, we're puckering their buttholes every week about what's about to transpire. So, should Miami be confident? Styles meet matchups, so, give me a quick rundown of or
not sure where Nate happened, but yeah, I mean Miami they have every right to be confident because Florida State has
I probably shouldn't hit the lead button.
Yeah, Miami has. I mean, honestly, they have every reason to be confident. They've had 3 good wins in a row, and Florida State has had 2 bad. I don't even say bad. 2 losses in a row. So there's every reason for Miami to be confident. And let's not forget what happened last year, 52-10. So there's every reason for Miami and their fans to be confident. So should they be? Sure. I hope they're extremely confident coming into the game because that kind of confidence, whenever you're really truthfully not that good, doesn't usually end up well when you go into a rivalry game.
So Steve, read the banner.
I hope they're very confident, and I hope the fans and Manny Clown Diaz are all very confident because if they walk into Doak like that, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Mm-hmm. This Florida State team is going to be hungry, and they showed tonight there's a lot of fight in this Florida State team. So, Miami has some flaws that Florida State can really take advantage of. Mm-hmm. We can run the ball on. If Travis is back and we get Brady Scott out of the lineup like he was, that's one thing we didn't talk about today that I think is very hurtful. Brady Scott having to start at guard is not a good thing.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
Major drop off. If we can get Gibbons or Johnson back in there at guard with the rest of the line, that's a huge help. And with Travis back, if Travis is back, we can run the ball all over Miami's defense. And even their secondary, there's big plays to be had on against their secondary. And our receivers suck and we can't throw the ball, but we're not so bad to where we can't have a big play here and there. We've had them throughout the year. It's there, especially if our running game starts getting working, we can hit some big plays. So we can put up some points on their defense. But defensively, again, it's going to come back to if we can put pressure on Tyler, which I think we can because their offensive line is not very good. If we can put pressure on him and the defensive secondary can not have all those mental lapses, this game is for the taking for Florida State because, Miami's had a couple good wins, but like I've said, there's not a very good team in the ACC. You have a lot of average to above average teams in the ACC, and on any given Saturday, any of those teams can win. And Pitt and Wake Forest and NC State are probably the 3 best, but they're not good teams. They're okay. They're average teams, and so Miami was able to beat some of them. Okay, but Miami's an average team. Florida State, is an average team. It's just who's going to show up and who's going to make the bigger plays. So I hope they come in very, 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 very confident. I hope so.
We talked about, winning, breeding confidence. And I think that Miami is a confident team right now. And I think that, Manny Diaz is a front running coach. He's not a coach that can do jack squat when that program or his team is struggling. Miami's, they got a quarterback who can throw the ball real well. They've done a good job of opening up the offense for him and letting him stretch the field. But at the same time, I think that, I think you do get Travis back next week. and it's going to be a really big challenge for Miami to stop the run. I think that Florida State can match up well with their front seven. I don't think they have defensive ends like they had last year that can get after the quarterback. Other than Nessa Savara, whatever is Savera, I can't name a starter for Miami's front four. I think that their linebackers is a mismatch for FSU's running backs. I think that if you can get Toa Philly back, I think he can create some havoc on offense for them. And Bolton's out, and that's a big loss for them. But it's going to come down to FSU's ability to throw the ball, like we've said for 4 weeks now. You got to be able to stay balanced. This isn't Miami of last year, starting Tate Rodemaker in Miami without Norvell. Let's call that what it is. Yeah, Florida State had a 52-10 win. That's great. Congratulations to Miami. But this is Miami is just as fragile mentally as any team in the country.
I forgot Tate started that game.
Yeah. So we've seen that teams that punch them in the mouth, they tuck tail and leave. But my final thought: this is a must-win for Norvell. You can't lose this Miami team, and you especially can't lose ugly. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I will never ever pick Miami to beat Florida State, even if they're significantly better. But this is not a significantly better team, irregardless of the record. Take the record out of it. It's not. But it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. But again, this is the post-game chop-up with Nate and Steve, hosted by the Voice of College Football. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 8 o'clock to listen to the live show. And again, we'll be here next week after Miami. I'll either be eating some crow or I'm going to be I'm going to be chirping. So it's going to be one or the other. I'll give Miami their props if they deserve it, but never. But But we appreciate y'all tuning in. Even the Miami fans, that want to come in and be brash and have that bravado. That's great. The rivalry week is here. FFM. Go Noles.
Go Noles.